All right, what's up? Prop the mic, PTM. We're back on a Monday. What do we got? July 17th, 2023, in the thick of the summer doldrums here. We got a little different show today. What's up, Dave?
Yeah, it's been a quiet summer. You know, this is kind of our first cycle. We really started up doing the pod last October. So this is kind of our first summer cycle. And, you know, obviously being sports fans, we knew that the summer would be a little quieter, but certainly can't wait for the fall to come.
Yeah.
We can give a little tease here on the show. We are going to be doing more and more future shows in the coming couple months, and might as well just share with our followers. We're going to be covering some NFL futures in the month of August.
Yes, sir.
So we figured, let's get into the rhythm of looking beyond tomorrow and cover some futures, and let's take a look at the WNBA futures while we're still on the All-Star break.
Yes. This is not our typical wheelhouse. Long-term bets are not our favorite here at PTM, but I think there's some good opportunities here in WNBA, and I think that I'm getting excited for our NFL shows those first 2 weeks of August.
Yeah, I would say that the futures markets typically, obviously, they come with the risk of injuries and all this such, but they do offer a lot of value too, because, you know, just like you said, most bettors out there don't want to make a long-term investment, right? They want to, bet the first quarter or the next bucket, right? They want immediate payout. So futures bet isn't for everybody. So there is a smaller market looking at it, which means there's potentially more opportunity.
Good point.
And I have some interesting findings for today's show. We did look at kind of our starting place was looking at what win totals were available for all the teams, and even the differences between FanDuel and DraftKings, which are the two main sports books we look at. Were kind of interesting. So, all right, before we dive into it, any commentary on the All-Star game?
They have 4-point plays. That was interesting. So that was one. The other one I just thought was kind of funny was I didn't watch all of it, but to see Brittany Griner huffing and puffing up and down the court trying to have a conversation with the broadcasters, I thought was it's one thing to baseball is not like a running sport, so like when guys like sitting in the outfield waiting for a ball to be hit to him, you can have a fairly normal conversation. I don't know, it seemed a little weird.
Yeah, and then Team Wilson was down 10 points at halftime, and they start the second half out interviewing her. You know, she's trying to get her team back in the game, and she's like having to answer all these questions. It was kind of crazy, but I thought it was fun. You know, it's obviously it was a fun game, and there was actually real good value. We spotted the fact that guards are going to dominate the game because most of the shots are coming outside the 3-point line, and that's what happened. The 3 guards that we presented nailed, and so did a few other guards like Ionescu as well.
Yeah.
And Ionescu too on the 3-point challenge. That was amazing. I'm not sure if you saw that video, but 20 straight 3-pointers. She broke the record for NBA and WNBA. So phenomenal. Yeah,
wow.
She was
impressive.
Great. Yep,
impressive.
All right. So you ready to dive into our futures discussion?
Yeah. Let's see what we got cooking here.
All right, cool. So we're just going to run through all 12 teams. As a reminder, there's 12 teams in the WNBA. I'll start by throwing out some kind of first half stats. Give you what the lines are for their win totals. Reminder, there's 40 games in the WNBA this year. That's up from last year, which I believe was 36 games, and up from the year prior. So, and then we'll kind of talk through which ones we like, which ones we're passing, which ones we want to fade.
Okay.
Good.
Yep.
All right, cool. So let's start from the top, right? So Las Vegas Aces, they are currently 19-2, so 90% winning percentage on the season. Their line on FanDuel is 35.5 wins, and on DraftKings it's at 34.5, which you pay the juice minus 140. So just kind of looking at the lower of the two lines in setting up what the required wins are. So again, 19 wins so far, 2 losses. They would need to win 16 and lose 3 to clear the lower line. They have 100% winning percentage at home, 80% on the road, 90% in their last 10. The other thing we looked at was just strength of schedule. Their opponents in the first half had a 43% winning percentage. Their opponents in the second half of the season will have a 49% win percentage if they hold the same percentages as the first half. So basically their schedule is a little stronger in the second half than it is in the first half. So anything on this one?
I see them regressing slightly here. So basically what I looked at is I took each team. I broke the season down into 5-game segments. Last 5 games, games 6. The last 5 games, games 6 through 10, the last game 6 through 10, and games 11 through 15. And then not every team's played 20 games. Some teams have played 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
So I basically cut it off. So basically, we're eliminating like those first 3 to 5 games of the season. Just that's how I ended up modeling this. And then I wanted to see, what kind of trend could we find over those, between those five game segments, how that team's been performing so far this season. So Vegas is just dominating. They're currently ranked like number 1 overall in multiple categories, and like I don't see that changing much in the second half here. I do see overall, I looked at a bunch of different metrics. I think 10 or 11 different metrics, including points scored, field goal attempts, field goal percentage, 3-point attempts, 3-point percentage, all your usual turnovers, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, assists, steals. Those are the categories we're looking at here. I have them kind of trending down slightly with an overall rank of 3.4 in the first half, overall rank of 3.8. So dropping slightly. So all that being said, I don't think there's I think it's kind of negligible, and I don't think they've been winning at a pretty crazy clip here. I don't know. We're talking about three losses here. They can lose 3 more and still cover, right? Their line.
Yeah, but that's at -140. So if you want like a better odds on FanDuel, they could only lose 2 games for the rest of the season. That's tough.
It is very tough, especially when you start to like have things clinched up, right? I mean, they have a nice, they have a 5-game lead in the win column, or what, a 4-game lead in the win column against Connecticut, up on Connecticut. I mean, it gets hard to like come out with, ferocity every single night to, to keep winning, especially when it's not, you're not incentivized. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking. So they start out the second half. They play the Storm, the Lynx, and the Sky. So I think those are 3 wins right there. But listen to this next stretch that they go through. They play the Wings, they play the Dream, they play New York, the Wings again, the Mystics, the Dream, and the Liberty. Right, those are all top 6 teams, and they play 7 straight games against top talent. So to me, that's a stretch of the season that probably makes or breaks it. If I had to lean one way or the other, I would probably say that I would go under the 35.5, and say that they're going to lose 3 games or more, especially as, like you said, as they lock it up at the end of the season. So
yeah,
that's my feeling. But again, not a great, not a strong play there.
Yeah.
So I'm personally going to pass on that one.
Agreed.
Let's bounce around. Why don't you give me actually your favorite next?
My favorite. All right. I actually have 2 favorites. I think they both have the at least the same line on DraftKings. I like to go over in the second half. I really like Atlanta and Dallas. Those are the 2 teams I'm targeting here. So I think Atlanta, these metrics I was just talking about, where basically just an overall global view. I looked at, based on my the trends I was seeing, where do I see them ranking in the second half compared to the first half? And Atlanta has the biggest delta there at like a 1.5 rank increase, and Dallas right behind them at 1.3. So those are the biggest changes in the positive direction. Atlanta would need to go 10-11 in the second half to cover the 20.5 win total. They went 11-8 in the first half. They got 11 home games remaining, 10 road games. They're a weird team. They're like much better, or they've been much better on the road than at home, like significantly, right? That's the team I'm talking about here, right? Yeah, 44% at home, 70 on the road. I don't know why that is.
I think it may just be a function of
who they played.
Who they played, and also they just got hot at the end of the first half, right? They won 70% of their games, so the last 7 of 10 games, and I think they won 6 straight going into the break. So I think that was also probably a bunch of those games were on the road, and that probably drove it. But that is a weird trend, and it's probably not one that will hold up in the second half. So that's upside, I would say, to an over.
Yep.
Is that they'll probably end up being 60+%, 70% at home, and they, like you said, they do have 11 of their 21 games at home in the second half.
Yes, and nice metrics that are increased, like field goal percentage. Like they're middle of the pack now, projecting them to be like top 3 by the end of the season here. 3-pointers are just that's the other end of the story. They're dead last, and they're going to continue to be dead last here. But I don't think that's that was just 3-point attempts. They stick to what they're good at. Turnovers, they're currently 11th, but they're trending up nicely. So the first the games like 11 through 15 ago, they were allowed like 95 turnovers in that 5-game segment. the second 5-game segment of the year, 72. It's down to 70. Like they've really, there's a nice trend there. They're doing a better job of protecting the ball. I think that hot finish they had to the first half continues here, and I like their over.
Yeah, I do too. Their strength of schedule in the second half also is slightly better than it was in the first half, so that's favorable. I also looked at just for them how many games they're playing against top 6 teams. So they got 3 games remaining against Vegas, which is obviously probably 2 to 3 losses there. 2 versus Connecticut, 1 versus New York, 1 versus Dallas, and 2 versus DC. So basically 9 out of their next 21 games are against top 6 teams, leaving 12 games remaining against the bottom 6. I think they could to get to the 10 wins. Yeah. I think they can win 7 out of 12 against the bottom and 3 out of 9, only 33% against the top talent. That seems very doable, right?
Sure.
I think those are very conservative numbers. I agree. I think the Dream are a good over at 20.5 wins.
Yep. We're on the same page here. Great defensive rebounding team, by the way. Their rebounds, they're currently number 2. I haven't projected to finish the season number 1 overall in defensive rebounding. So nice. I like the Dream.
All right, and then Dallas, similar win total. They're currently sitting at 11-9. Their total wins for the season at FanDuel is 21.5. DraftKings is 20.5. DraftKings are going to pay the juice minus 150. But the analysis that we're looking at is currently off of that 20.5, which basically means they need 10 more wins. So they need to go 10-10, just 500 for the back half of the season. They're also interesting. 78% wins at home, only 36% on the road. So the opposite of the Dream.
Yep.
And they do have a favorable schedule with 11 of their 20 remaining games at home. So what do you like about Dallas here?
Like you just said, they only need to go 10-10. They went 11-9 in the first half. Great, and they have 11 home games remaining, only 9 road games, and like you just said, nice splits there. So I think this shapes up nicely for them. They by far and away take the most field goal attempts of any team in the league. They're number 1 in the first half. I'm projecting them to be number 1 again in the second half. So I like that. The 3-point attempts have been decreasing quite a bit, which I think is fine. Their 3-point percentage they're dead last in 3-point percentage, so they're kind of avoiding what they're not good at and focusing on a lot more field goal attempts. And I don't see a huge problem with that. They're middle of the pack in free throws, top 4 in turnovers. Their offensive rebounding is insane. They're number 1 so far this season, and I'm projecting them to stay number 1. By a mile too. I mean, the next best team, they're averaging 12 offensive rebounds a game. The next best team is Indiana at 9.5. Great metric to gauge success, or one of the 4 factors they call it. That's one of them that you can really read a lot into in terms of teams being successful in the win column. And even assists trending up nicely. The first 5 games of the season, 86 assists total. Next 5-game segment, 93. The last 5 games, 113. So wow. They're really the trend. That's the slope on that's 13.5. That's a nice upward trend right there. And same thing with steals. 28 steals in the first 5 games, 41 in the middle 5, and the most recent 5, 45 steals. So nice trend there too. I think they're peaking at the right time here.
Yeah, and if you just look at, like, putting the numbers aside for a second, if you just look at the talent they have on that team, they're really, I mean, they got many superstars there. And like you said, a lot of size. So I think they make for a good potential surprise. My guess is they're not going to push into the top 3 before the playoffs. They'll probably land somewhere in the 4, 5, 6 range. But as we put out on Twitter the other day, they do have the right matchup with Vegas to potentially do something crazy in the playoffs. So we also recommended putting a small little bet right now on Dallas to win the championship at plus 13,000 on FanDuel. I thought that was nice as well.
Plus 13,000. You don't hear that too often.
Yeah, and again, the books are all over the place. I think DraftKings was something like plus 6,000. So definitely shop around for these win totals and even for championship bets as well.
All right, they played Vegas 3 times, right? They beat them once, and then there's like 2 close games, right? That's what
I think they played them twice.
Oh,
Let me
twice.
Just double check that. It was back-to-back games.
I thought they had one. I thought they beat one of the Vegas's losses. Yeah, Dallas. I thought, right?
It was. They played back-to-back games. They've played twice.
Only twice though.
It was on 7-5 and 7-7. So just a couple weeks ago. Not even.
Yeah.
They won They lost the first game by 7 after blowing a big lead at halftime, and then they beat
Oh, that's right.
Vegas when they went back home. So definitely give Vegas some problems with all that size.
Yeah. All right.
All right, cool. Let me cover. How about the Sun? Connecticut is ranked third right now in the league. They've got a nice record, 15-5. So they actually have more wins than the Liberty, but the Liberty have only played 19 games versus Connecticut's 20. So the Liberty actually have a higher win percentage with 14-4. But Connecticut, their total at FanDuel is 28.5 wins. DraftKings 27.5 at -140. So we're kind of using that 27.5 for the analysis here, which means they need to get to 28 wins, which means a 13-7 record. So they had a 75% win rate in the first half. They need to get to 65% win rate in the second half. So that was actually the biggest drop of any team. The Dream also were at a 10% difference between first half and second half. I think that's mostly because Jones is out. But they went into the break, playing great. I mean, they won 7 out of the last 10. Overall for the first half, 70% win rate at home, 80% on the road. And the thing I love the most about Connecticut is they have the weakest strength of schedule for the second half. It's a huge drop off from the first half to the second half. So I'll just go through.
Yeah.
Let's go through who they've lost to so far this year as well, and I think you'll be even more impressed by their resume.
Okay.
So far, their only losses, I think I said they lost 5 games. They lost to Atlanta by 4, but then they beat Atlanta by 12 the next time they played. They lost to Vegas by 18, and they lost to Vegas by 6, but they also beat Vegas by 17. And then they lost both times that they played the Liberty by 8 and 16. So basically, their only 5 losses came against top 6 teams. They've beaten everybody, all the other teams below that, including they also beat the Mystics 3 times and Dallas 1 time. So this is a really good team. They only have 8 games, I believe, against top talent to finish off the second half of the season against the top 6 teams. So I think they can win 4 out of those 8, win 10 out of 12, the remaining 12 against the bottom tier. That gives them 14 wins. They need 13. I think they're a slam dunk here. Thoughts on Connecticut?
Yeah, so all that being said, they are dead last in my rank changes here. So their current average rank on the first half of the season was 5. That's going up to 6.5. That's a delta of 1.5, which is just as much as Atlanta was an increase. This is the opposite end here.
Yeah.
Some of the ones to point out, their free throw attempts are down big time. The first third of the season, 103 down to 93, down to 88. I don't like that. Offensive rebounding down big time, 45 in the first third of the season, down to 38, and then 30 over the last 5 games. Defensive rebounding down as well. But some of the other metrics are up, like their 3-point percentage is up big time. Nice upward trend there. I would imagine that has to do with Brandon Jones going out. And also they're holding on to the ball much better too. Great trend in terms of turning the ball over. I mean, they're already very good, and they've gotten much better over the last 5 to 10 games. So I don't know. There's some metrics pointing in one direction and some pointing the other way. I think you mentioned the strength of schedule is very good for them in their favor, right? Yeah.
Like I said, they play 12 of their last 20 games against bottom 6 teams. I mean, I agree with you. I think they are not as good of a team as they were in the first half because of the loss of Jones.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's offset by a weak schedule. And I think they're going to be fighting until the last game to kind of maintain the seeding, right? They're certainly not going to want to be on the same side of the bracket as the Aces. I think they're going to be pushing for that 2 seed.
I think so. Everything I just said, still looking at it like, are they going to lose 8 more games? Like, I don't know. That's what they'd have to lose, right, to not go over. I don't see that. I mean, they're a pretty disciplined veteran team that I think, if I had to lean one or the other, despite what I just said, I think I'd probably lean over here. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. We'll skip over the Mystics. They're 11-8 on the season. There's no props out because they have so many injuries, right? Yeah. They have Deladon out. They have Shakira Austin is still out. So we'll skip over them, although I really do like them to make some noise in the playoffs potentially. So that could be, they could continue to slide. They did win 6 of their last 10 games, so they are kind of on a downtrend. They also have only won 40% of their away games. So they could slide to like a 6 or 7 or maybe even an 8 seed, depending on how long those stars are out. And they could upset somebody in the first round. So just keep an eye on them.
Big
You
upward
might,
trend on their scoring, by the way. The highest of any team.
yeah,
Yeah, their scoring has really increased dramatically over the last 5 to 10 games. Yeah,
that's the thing. It's like some of these injuries. You have forwards and centers go out, and then the guards basically accelerate the game and start shooting more or just increase the pace. I know they're more about field goal percentage increasing, but anyway, we'll revisit them later this season. They're a team to watch, but not to bet on the overs or unders right now. Okay. You got anything on the Liberty? I really didn't have much on them.
I did. So on my model here, they were actually right behind Connecticut as the team with the most downward trend in the second half of the season. A lot of that is being driven by so their points scored down a bit, trending downwards. They're number 2 overall. I have them actually projected to finish like 4 or 5. What else do we have here? That are big downward trends. Field goal percentage trending downwards. Their 3 points are up big time though. They're number 1 in threes, and I think that will continue. But yeah, nothing. Turnovers is another one. Turnovers are up big time, like a 13% increase. They were they only had 64 turnovers the first third of the season, up to 73 in the middle, and now 83 turnovers over their last 5 games. That's a little bit cause for concern there.
I agree, and they're a team that just shows a lot of lapses, right? They'll be up big and then they'll just give up a big lead, and all of a sudden, I mean, you saw the game against the Fever the other day. I think they were up 20 points. They ended up going to overtime to win that one. They played the Seattle the other day. They basically gave up a 20-point. They have a lot of lapses. So I didn't do a lot of analysis on them. If I was going to go one direction or the other, I would go under.
Yeah, I think so.
What I will say is FanDuel and DraftKings both had this at 29.5 the other day. FanDuel actually updated all of their props. So FanDuel went up to 30.5, which means people were betting the under, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Or sorry, the over.
The over.
Yeah. And DraftKings didn't even touch any of their things. So people were probably betting it, but all of their props stayed exactly the same. The odds, the numbers, everything. So I think there's probably more value on the DraftKings side, because I honestly think they have less resources updating the WNBA stuff. So so still available on DraftKings at 29.5 if you wanted to go over, or if you want to go under 30.5 on FanDuel minus 128.
I kind of like that under 30.5 there. That's tempting.
Yeah, it is tempting. Yeah. All right, cool. So that's the top 6. In the bottom, let me just read off. We got the Lynx at 9-11, Sky at 8-12, Sparks at 7-13, and then the Fever at 5-15, Mercury 4-15, and the Storm in dead last at 4-16. So anybody from the bottom 6 you want to you liked or you want to cover here?
My new hometown team, the LA Sparks. I think they're going to be so they're number 3, right behind Atlanta and Dallas on my in my model here of second half turnaround. Let me just pull up their stuff here. So points scored, like scoring is not going to change that much. They're not great. They're like 10th overall now. I only have them going to 9th. But great trend on like their field goal attempts. So right now they're ranked 9th. I have them projected to finish the second half number 2 overall. The first third of the season, 318 field goal attempts, up to 329, up to 350 over their last 5 games. It's a huge increase right there. So I like that. Where else were they looking really good? I think defensively, free throws up. They're middle of the pack right now. I have them projected to finish 4th overall in free throw attempts in the second half. And I believe, where were we? Was it defensive rebound? No, their defensive rebounding is not great. Offensive, that's what it was. Offensive rebounding. So I had nice upward trend here, like the biggest by far. 25% upward trend from 23 to 37 to 40 offensive rebounds in those 5-game segments. I like that. That bodes well for wins, and then also their defensive like steals also up significantly or trending upwards significantly. So yeah, they were the for comparison's sake, I had like I mentioned Atlanta that delta was 1.5. Dallas was 1.3. This is 0.6. So you're talking about half of the magnitude of the other ones. But I think of all of them, that's the team. I think you like them too, right? Or no?
I do, mostly because I think they've been playing the whole first half of the season with half a team, right? Like Umake, Brown, I think even a few other players I forgot. Missed a few games here and there, but I think Lexi Brown coming back is a huge addition. I'm a
Totally.
big
Yeah.
Lexi fan, but I think she really changes the offense for them.
Yeah.
So their line is currently set at 14.5 on FanDuel, 15.5 on DraftKings. So we're going with the 14.5. They got to win 8 games basically out of their remaining 20. So they got to win 40% when they only won 35% of their games in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Still, it's not a lot to ask for, right?
Yeah.
Their strength of schedule is a little bit tougher in the second half. I initially was looking at them. FanDuel also has odds to make the playoffs. They're currently sitting at the 9 seed, one game back from I think they're one game back from Chicago. Chicago's trending down. I kind of feel like they'll sneak into the playoffs. That's plus 164, so that's another angle you could take too, if you want to.
Just LA to make the playoffs. Interesting.
Yeah. So I was looking at last season. The 8th seed for the playoffs were the Mercury last year. They had a win percentage of 0.417, so 41%.
Yeah.
And the year before, the Liberty were the 8th seed with a win percentage of 0.38. So, yeah, very top heavy. So basically, I think to make the playoffs, the Sparks need to win 9 to 10 games when they've only won 7 so far. That's closer to a 50% win rate in the second half. I think that's feasible, but I'd rather take the better odds, minus 102 on FanDuel. They have to win 8 games. I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. Do we know when Lexi's coming back? She's due back anytime.
Yeah, they interviewed her. I think she might be back. Let me see, like in the next this coming week.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, I just think she really changes the offense a lot for them.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, so they open up against. Yeah, I mean the first 4 games are pretty nice. They play the Lynx, then they play the Wings, which is tough, and then they play the Fever twice. So I think it's not a bad schedule to start off. So
3-1.
Yeah, so she could be back as soon as this week. So hopefully that's true.
Nice.
All right, cool. Anybody else in the bottom 4 bottom 6 that you're liking?
That I'm liking. The only one the only other one with a positive trend here is actually Phoenix, but I'm just staying away from that. They're the only other team that are projected to be better in the second half than they were in the first half, but that's not saying much.
Yeah, so Phoenix's line is 11.5. They've only won 4 out of 19 games so far. So that basically means they need to win 8 of their remaining 21 games. Their strength of schedule is actually pretty tough in the second half. I think they have a tough road. They play 13 games out of the remaining 21 against top 6 teams. 2 against Vegas, 3 against Connecticut, 1 against New York, 1 Dallas, 3 against the Mystics, and 3 against Atlanta.
No, thank you.
I mean, I'm inclined to say that they only win 2 out of those 13 games, which means they need to win 6 out of their remaining 8 games against the bottom 6 to cover this. I think it's an underplay, but it's a scary under because you only have 7 wins. That's tough. So I think that's probably, and they may also shut down some players at the end of the season too, like Taurasi and such.
Yeah, it could be.
She's going for 10,000 points, I think it was. Once she gets there, they might shut her down. So who knows?
Yeah, let's stay away from Phoenix here.
All right. Anybody else in the bottom half? How about the Storm? You like the Storm at all?
The Storm was negligible change from the first half to the second half. So based on that, I don't know. What are they? Let's see here. They were 4-16. They'd have to go 7-13. I don't know. I don't love that. I like the Storm. You do.
Yeah. I do like the Storm as a fan, not as a bettor. Although I do like betting the Storm fourth quarter because they do tend to get teams that fall asleep and that give up 20-point leads. So
make note, people.
Make note for those fourth quarter Storm bets. But yeah, I mean their strength of schedule was the toughest out of any team in the league in the first half. They go down significantly. They only play 8 games against top 6 teams. So I think they do have a favorable schedule, but this team's kind of all over the place. I would personally pass on that.
Yeah.
All right, and then that leaves the Lynx, the Fever, and the Sky. Any of those? Anything standing out for those 3 teams?
I mean, Sky's trending downward, Lynx trending downward. Who else did you say there? Fever.
Fever. Yeah.
Yeah, Fever also trending downwards. But nothing. I mean, nothing that's blowing me away that I'm liking an under enough. the Fever's strength of schedule was pretty interesting, right? They're pretty hard schedule. I think did they have the hardest schedule the first half?
They had the hardest schedule in the first half, and they also look at their first half home away.
Oh wow, yeah, I see a 13% win percentage at home, 33 on the road.
Yeah, they do play the most games at home. So 12 out of their remaining 20 games are at home. They went through like some brutal stretch where they were on the road for weeks.
Yeah,
I think it was
the season, right? I remember that. Yeah.
So, so I do think they have a favorable schedule, but I mean, their team is based on a rookie who's an amazing player in Aaliyah Boston, but she's got some injuries behind her with Melissa Smith, Lexi Hull. So I don't know. I would favor probably the under versus the over on them.
Yeah.
So and then the Sky, I think they are the team that's probably got the most downside. They limped into the All-Star break, a 30% win rate. So they only won 3 of their last 10 games. They're hanging on to that 8th seed with an 8-12 record. And they got to go 8-12 again in the second half. Unless things turn around. They lost their, I think the Sky, right? They lost their coach in the middle of the season.
Yeah. Dwayne Wade to just buy the team though.
Yeah, he's investing in the team. So, so good long-term prospects for this guy, but I don't.
Yeah,
I would take this guy potentially to not make the playoffs. I think that's another bet you can do, which I think was plus money, as opposed to their win total.
That's a nice one. I like that. Yeah, their scoring is just terrible. I mean, I haven't projected to finish dead last in the second half in terms of points scored. They were 11th in the first half, so not much better. And they don't get to the line. Their free throw attempts are by far the fewest in the league, like by far. Don't like that at all. So yeah,
they're plus 164 to not make the playoffs, and they're
really
they're hanging on to.
Nice. Dude, that's nice. I like that.
So I think that would be the direction I'd go with the Sky. I don't see them eclipsing the Lynx, the Wings, the Dream, the Mystic. They're just not the same level talent. So maybe the Lynx, but I don't know. The Lynx have a lot of players coming back, so I think the Lynx are going to keep moving up, and I think it's going to be the Sky and the Sparks battling for that 8th seed.
Yeah, that sounds right.
All right, so I think that pretty much covers it. Did you have anything else?
No, that was it. I mean, so I think recapping, it was I think we were both on the Atlanta over.
Yeah, Atlanta over. What was the number? Just so we make sure everybody's clear. Over 20.5. You can get that for minus 115 on DraftKings or minus 120 on FanDuel. So I think that's a nice one. I think that was probably the one we both liked the most. And then I think we both like, probably you like Dallas second best, and I probably like Connecticut second best. So Dallas over 20.5 and Connecticut over 27.5. Those are both on DraftKings, but they are both minus 140 and minus 150. So so I think probably focusing on Atlanta is probably
Liberty under 30.5.
Liberty probably under 30.5 is good. Again, I'm personally going to stay away from that one just because this team hasn't really played that much together, right? They're pretty much a brand new team when you think about the main pieces they have.
Yeah,
and they may have taken the first half to gel, and they might start to, really accelerate in the second half. So I would say probably let's focus on those first 3 teams that we talked about.
Just like the Mets are going to do, right? In the second half.
No, the Mets are done. And then the other 2 were the Sparks to make the playoffs, or the Sparks over, and then the Sky to miss the playoffs. I think those were like kind of the 5 that we liked the most.
Yeah, nice recap. So
awesome.
Yeah, that was good. It was first for PTM, but I like this, and we're going to get into some more of this in a few weeks with the NFL. So stay tuned, and have a listen. And I don't think we're going to put any of these up on Twitter. This is going to be podcast only picks.
Yeah, I think so. We'll certainly put them up when they win. Right? We're gonna make sure we take credit.
Can't not take credit, right?
In September when all of these cash. So
there we go.
But yeah, hopefully we get some good listeners for this one. And again, as always, if you guys have ideas, questions about other plays that we didn't talk about here, any other information, we didn't talk too much about injuries either. There are some more information there. If you have anything, just get in touch with us through Twitter, and we'd love to hear your feedback as well.
Yeah. All right. Let's lock these in, and we'll make some money.